Well, hello everyone and welcome to my channel, DB's Designs and Sewing Australia. My name's Deb and this is my Friday Sews. Now it's 2 weeks since I've been on. Been pretty busy in the meantime. Last Friday I had a student that I was teaching jeans fitting to, and that took the whole day, and the rest of the weekend it was Mother's Day, and so I had children and grandchildren staying with me. So not much got done over the last weekend, but during the week I have managed to get some things sewn up. Now the first thing I've sewn up was a set of pillowcases for my sister. She asked me, she had the spare flat sheet and she wanted a European pillowcase, and so I used the top section of the sheet there as the turnover, and it's just inside like that, pull the flap over it type of pillowcase. This is beautiful, beautiful sheeting and such a gorgeous color. And this is a pillow for her, pillowcase for her husband's pillow. Now he uses a wedge pillow, and so it's this huge piece of foam that's got a high end like that at one end, and it slopes down to nothing. So this is the width of the height of the wedge, so it's quite a large pillow, and it goes down to nothing on the side, so you can see those seams there. So hopefully it fits his pillow. I have made him one before, but I put a zip in it, and it was actually quite tight, and so eventually the zip burst, and when she had, and so he was still using it, and probably is still using it, because the zip was at the non-head end or non-use end, for want of a better word. And this time she said, can you not put a zip in it, so that it's, and make it looser so it's easier to get on and off, because it was actually quite hard to get the piece of foam in there. So that was one of the first things I made this week. Then I made some little lizard, I think it's Joliette A-line skirts. Now I'll insert a photo of one that was completed. I've made 3 of them. One was for Phoebe, who's 5, one's for Adele, who's nearly 4, and one's for Mia, who's 9 months. So this is Mia's. I haven't put the studs on them yet. I have in the one that's in the photo. Now the reason is I have broken my buttonhole foot, and I've made one of the rubber strips come off the side, and I've glued it back on, but every time I try and use it, it comes off again. So I have ordered one online and I'm waiting for that to come in. So what I'm using is actual studs, but I'm doing buttonholes so that you can unbutton them. Has got elastic in the back of the waist, and it's just, they're just so gorgeous. Now this is a pattern that I saw Sew Something Pretty. Katrina from Sew Something Pretty had made one for her daughter. Very, very cute. Pockets are actually really difficult to do. You're supposed to fully line the pockets, but because this is the purple cord, same purple cord that I made my cords out of, it would make the pockets way too thick. So I have just overlocked all the way around them, turned under a bit of a hem allowance on the top part of it, and then stitched them on. But it is a really, really cute skirt, and it doesn't have, you don't hem it as such. It's actually a facing, and so it makes the bottom really, really nice. Hem-wise, all of the sizes have got elastic in the back of the waist for the small children. I see there is actually a ladies one, and that was using a pattern company called Little Lizard King Pattern. Now, and that's the pattern there. It is really, really cute. And the girls, the 2 size 4s I made in a size knee length, and the size, I think I made her a size 1. I made in the mini, which is why it looks so little. But Phoebe tried hers on. Wouldn't let me take a photo of her, but she tried it on and it fitted her. So I know that will fit Adele as well because they take the same size. So, yeah, very, very cute. And I'll take some photos and then when I've got the studs on those, when I can get my buttonhole working. Okay, so the thing I made after that, and I actually only finished it this morning because I had to hem it, was the Atelier Jupe Stina skirt. Now, I had seen this skirt on the Daily Society website when Kristen was advertising the fabric and the pattern. She had the pattern also. I noticed that the skirt was quite long, and so I wrote to Kristen, who always answers, mind you, she's always very helpful, and said, what pattern is that? I'd already purchased the fabric because I knew what was going to happen. I knew the fabric would be all gone. And she said, oh, it's the Atelier Jupe Stina skirt, but they've just made it longer. And so, of course, then the pattern was sold out. But as soon as the pattern came in, Kristen emailed me and I was able to purchase it and get it. So I had never used an Atelier Jupe pattern before. And so when you get the pattern, for anyone who hasn't used these patterns before, you have to trace the pattern off because they all overlap each other. And so I just drew out my size in purple texture and transferred it onto my own paper, and it worked a treat. And now I've got the pattern, and I've also got the pattern in every other size because I haven't been able to cut into it. So now I just went and found my booklet, which I couldn't find. It was in with the patterns, of course. And this is the Steiner skirt. And so it talks about the sizing. It gives you a welcome. Gives you the finished measurements, how much fabric you'll need and what other materials you'll need. The fabric layout. How to draw your pattern onto the tissue paper. So good explanations. And I tell you what it does have. In here, it's got what the pattern piece number is, what the pattern piece name is, how many you need to cut. For instance, the front, you cut one on the fold, and that its seam allowance is 1.5 centimetres around it and 4 centimetres at the hem. So that is really, really handy. So it says every single piece and what you need to do with it. So that is really, really good. And the sewing instructions. So what it's got is it's got inverted pleats. This is the front. So it's got 3 inverted pleats. So you can see, hard to see in this fabric, there's the inverted pleat. And when you think about an inverted pleat, it's just the other side of a box pleat. So when you're thinking about what is an inverted pleat, I'll show you the front one, it's easier. When you're thinking about what is an inverted pleat, that's the other side of it, which is a box pleat. So that's the difference between them. You could do it the other way and have the inverted pleat on the inside and the box pleat on the outside. It would work out the same, but you're more likely for your pleats to puff out a little bit rather than sit flat against your body. I did fully line it. Now the lining pieces are completely different pattern pieces. They don't have any pleating in them, and it's got an elasticated waist, and it's got secret pockets. So the pockets are inserted in the sides, and then, so this is an image of what the side looks like, but the pocket is hidden in behind here because there's a pleat over it. So it's really quite a great way of putting your pockets in. Now I was going to do the pocket linings in the silk, knowing full well that you couldn't see them. You could actually do them in any fabric because you cannot see anything poking out like you can in a traditional side pocket. But as that silk is quite difficult to work with, I thought, well, probably doing the lining in it is going to tip me over the edge. I did the lining in it and I did a rolled hem on it. Silk is much easier to hem than a rolled hem. So I must change my overlocker back to normal. Yeah, so that's the Steiner skirt. I am inserting photos as we go. So really, really happy with this skirt. I don't traditionally wear skirts because I always thought they make me look fat, or because I'm short-waisted. So you'll notice in some of the photos I've got a belt on with a polo neck jumper, merino polo neck jumper. Now to me that looks okay, but I'm always conscious of trying to pull the skirt down so that there's more space between your bust and your waist. And so things that are high-waisted can often make it look like your boobs are down to your waist, which the older you get could be the truth, but we don't want it to look like that. Now, I was listening to Kristen this morning and she was saying what sizes do people make in the Atelier Jupe, and I made a size 42 in that. With the skirt, the only thing I've ever got to worry about is the waist measurement because my hips are small compared to my waist. So I always know I'm going to be able to get it on. So it's only ever my waist measurement that I was concerned about. It has got elastic in it. I didn't want it to be too elasticy and too gathered. So I made the size 42, really happy with the sizing, and made the waistband not tight. I didn't want it tight. I didn't want it to do a whole muffin toppy thing, so made it. The fabric to the Day Society site, you'll see it's called Abstract Flower Viscose, and it's actually quite a heavy viscose. You can probably tell it's not a flimsy type of viscose that you would necessarily find in all the summer things that everyone's making or made. It's definitely got a feel to it, and it's not a silky viscose, and is actually very, very nice to sew. Now, the other thing I made was the Vera top. Now, this is the Vera top by Forget Me Not Patterns, and that's what I'm wearing now. I will insert photos. What a fabulous top. Now, I picked up this fabric from Darn Cheap Fabrics in Glen Huntly, and I think it was $12 a metre. So it was just to try out the Vera top and see what it was like. I actually put a band on the bottom. Now, the pattern does not have a band on the bottom, so I just made a band and put it on. But it's the sleeves that I love. Absolutely love these sleeves. So I will be making more of those. And the other thing I made, jumper-wise, was the Atelier Jupe Charlie sweater. Now, I was looking at this because I've got a beautiful, beautiful piece of fabric, and I need to try out all these tops before I would dare cut into it. I will insert photos of this. Now, this is the fabric I bought online from super cheap. So this is the jumper. Well, even though it's a knit, it really has, this is how much stretch it's got. Absolutely none. And I actually made the size 42 in this as well. So if I had a fabric that was knit and did have stretch in it, I might size down, because as you can see, it's quite boxy. But you know what I found? This is a great wind sheeter pattern. I've not been able to find a very nice wind sheeter pattern or that comes up high enough on the neck. Now, it was a bit of a trial getting these neck bands and cuff bands on. I'm not sure if you're supposed to do, if I, read the instructions, I probably know, but I'm not an instruction reader. So the cuffs were hard to put on. In the end, I did a gathering stitch to get them on, but had the fabric had the amount of stretch that a normal stretch fabric has, we would have been able to get them on without gathering. I can see that in the photos. So there's the photos. They've got some gathering. Yes, see this one is what I made, and it has no gathering there on that cuff. Well, mine has got a little bit of gathering because I couldn't get the cuffs on. And this fabric makes fluff everywhere, but it is so thick and so warm. It's full of polyester. I have to iron it with a cloth. I did press it, and I pressed it with a cloth, and because you can just see that it's going to stick to the iron. But I don't sweat, so things with polyester in them don't really worry me. And I bought this for a test for some jumpers, and for some reason of the sage green, I've got 3 meters. I was thinking I could make a tracksuit out of that, even though it wouldn't be a stretchy tracksuit. I could make a tracksuit out of it. And I made the round neck version. So I will find some other knit fabric and make, oh my God, I just threw the pattern everywhere. And make the V-neck version. So that's the V-neck version, but I will make it with long sleeves. That center one is the V-neck version. And I might make a puffier sleeve with a long band, not sure. And I had been in Collingwood, so I did pop to the fabric store and bought some fabric and other things. I'll show you that shortly. Maybe in another video. How long is this going for? Too long. And the other thing I made, once again, buttonhole's not done because I've wrecked my buttonhole foot, was the all-in easy fit shirt by Pattern Emporium. And I made the collar with the collar stand. Now, this fabric is the fabric that I bought from Spotlight for $4 a metre. Never again. This fabric is so hard to sew. I had to change to Microtex needle, and even then, so hard to sew. It just won't poke a hole through it. And then when I think about it, this has actually got, it was just called shirting, and didn't really say what the content was, because I don't think it had a proper hanging label on it. I think it just had like the little sticker inside the roll. And I could see that it said shirting, and I could get $4 a metre. But when I listened to it, sounds like those tracksuits from the 70s that all the kids wore. But I absolutely love the way it looks. Love the way it looks. The iron-on interfacing would not stay ironed on. And I pressed it on with a cloth and did all of those things. So every time I wanted to sew something that had interfacing. I had to tack down the edges to make sure it stayed on there. Quickly give it another press and then quickly sew it so that it stayed attached to it. So when it's washed, I don't know if anything is going to happen to the inside of the collar or anything like that. In hindsight, I should have done the collar stand in the other direction. I did the cuffs in the other direction, but it's a lovely shirt, and it's the look that I was going for. So I will insert photos. As I said, it's got no buttons on it, so in the photos it's just pinned. I found some whitehead pins and put them in, but I've got 2 more shirts cut out in this. Now this is in a, what do they call it? Some sort of cotton, but it's like a cotton sateen, but it's 100% cotton. So it should be okay to sew. And I've also got this shirting, and that's also 100% cotton. So hopefully those will be easier to sew than the nightmare that was that shirt. It put me off a little bit, and I thought, no, I've already got 2 other ones cut out. I will persevere and keep on going with this because I wanted to, the previous one I'd made was one without a collar stand, so it was a camp collar style, and I really love it, but I sort of like to wear the collars flipped up a bit, especially when you've got really short hair. As you'll notice, I haven't had my head shaved again, but my hair's still really pretty short. So that was my trials. Oh, I know what else I did. I should have known it was going to be a disaster from the beginning. I cut out the whole thing, and then when it was, I had all the pieces still attached to their pattern. I didn't pin it, I rotary cut it. Note to self, not only does the needle not go through it, it's really hard to pin because the pins don't want to go through it, and bent a whole lot of my pins. And it was on the ironing board, and I thought, oh, I must have cut out the the fronts on the fold. I better just slide the scissors down there and cut that, so that the 2 fronts are separate. Well, it wasn't the fronts I was looking at, it was the back. And so I cut the back. I cut the center back. And as soon as I'd done it, I thought, oh no, that's the back. And so I did a French seam. Not that you can tell with the stripes. And because I'd used up fabric making the French seam, and I did make it as narrow as I could, even though, I couldn't sew through the fabric, just 2 more seams to make it a nightmare. I just reduced the width of this inverted pleat. Now this is another case where you can do an inverted pleat, but of course on the inside it's a box pleat. And so I really go for inverted pleat on women's shirts and box pleats on men's shirts. I don't know why. My husband's shirt's not here anymore, and I can't remember if that pattern was a box pleat or an inverted pleat, but it makes no difference. It uses up the same amount of fabric. You take up the same amount of width. The pleat's the same. It's just the opposite side of it. So that was my nightmare, and complete stuff up with cutting that back open. Can't believe I did that. Okay, the other thing I did, Mother's Day. One of my daughters gave me this gorgeous book called The Shoe. Now this is by Megan Hess, and some of the other books that I got from my youngest daughter for my birthday are also by Megan Hess. And so I was looking through the book thinking, oh, they're probably all, the highest shoes in the world, which I'm old, I can't wear shoes that high. My boots are probably the highest shoes I wear, and that's only because they're quite firm around the ankle and the calf, and so it makes you not fall over. Anything that can flick off your feet would not be for me. But I do notice they've got a lot of lower shoes as well. Not every shoe in here. They've got loafers in here. Oh, and that beautiful Chanel slingback. That's a beautiful shoe, that two-tone slingback. Love that one. So quite a few low-heeled shoes as well, and the history of shoes. And along with that book, my daughter gave me this book. This is from my eldest daughter, Lucy. And when we went to the Alexander McQueen exhibition in Melbourne, she bought me this book for Mother's Day. It's absolutely beautiful. And it just brings back all the memories of when we saw all those fabulous outfits and all the beading on it and the history behind it. Was the widows from Scotland that he did a whole big piece on. Absolutely gorgeous. And there's a story about a tree. I'll see if I can find that. There must have been a tree that was near his house and had a very big impact on him. But really, the beading, the massive amounts of beading in all these dresses, it's unbelievable. They're absolutely beautiful. And this is one of the photos of that tree, which is all embroidered on it. And when we're at the show, there's a big sort of lighting thing and there's things moving around in the tree. It was really very well done, very spectacular. And we had a wonderful day. And then we went to Camberwell and had sushi. So that was fabulous. Anyway, that's all for this vlog, but I am looking at a box wrapped in black plastic, which is my next bespoke box from the Daily Society. So I will put that video up next after this one. Everyone have a great sewing week and I will talk to you soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.